Alright, good afternoon students. Today we're going to talk about the direct instruction model, and we have talked about in the last micro teaching we did was the presentation model. So this next upcoming micro teaching opportunity is direct instruction approach. So this presentation will be about direct instruction approach. What do carpenters, doctors, soldiers, athletes, most professionals, what do they all have in common? What do you think? Well, one thing they all have in common is a repertoire of skills, a variety of skills that they use in their profession. Can you imagine if a carpenter only showed up to build a house with a hammer, or if a doctor showed up with only a stethoscope? They're nice, of course, and they do help, but you can't treat an illness with just a stethoscope, and you can't build a house with just a hammer. Why shouldn't teachers have a repertoire of skills? So, the point is that when we have a mastery of different instructional models, we have a tool bag that is successful, effective. Okay? So I want to give you an idea today that's going to help you as we talk through this discussion, this presentation. And the idea is that unless you master the steps for each different instructional model, and you identify the differences, understand the differences between the models, your teaching will be what? Ineffective and boring, okay? So we need a repertoire of skills. And this begins with a mastery of instructional models. And today we're going to talk about direct instruction. Okay? So today's outcome, we're going to be able to explain the critical importance of mastering different instructional models by writing a 6 to 8 sentence paragraph. We're going to be able to create a detailed lesson plan using the direct instruction model, which includes scaffolding and something called I do, we do, you do sequence. And then you will teach a lesson using your lesson plan in the direct instructional model. All right, those are our outcomes. Let's get started. Our first topic in this presentation is to talk about the desired outcomes. So every instructional model has different goals, different outcomes, different reasons for why we teach a certain model. The direct instruction model is for mastering a well-structured skill, knowledge, skill mastery. The kind of things that you would teach direct instruction would be something like tying a shoe. There's a certain way to tie your shoelaces. And if you teach a little child how to tie their shoelaces, it's the direct instruction approach. Fixing a flat tire. There's a certain way to fix a flat tire. And you should know how to fix a flat tire. Even something like understanding vocabulary context. You come across an unfamiliar word while reading. How do you know what that word means? Well, you can look around the context of the word, and if you know how, you can figure out what the vocabulary word is. Another one is reading comprehension strategies. There are certain strategies to build reading comprehension. And when the strategy is a step-by-step process, this is called direct instruction. Math formula for the area. If you're going to find area, you need to times the length times the width. That's a formula. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay? That's direct instruction. That's skill mastery. Let's look at the difference comparing the direct instructional model, which is skill mastery, such as fixing a flat tire, with the last instructional model we use, the presentation model. The presentation model, our purpose for teaching the presentation model is to present new information and help somebody remember new information. Okay? That's a little different than skill mastery. Somebody already knows something, you're expanding their conceptual context of that knowledge. Presentation model, such as BYU Hawaii Student Framework for Learning. I mean, this is an idea, and it takes a presentation to present these ideas to you. This is a skill. Fixing a flat tire is a step-by-step skill. See the difference? Think about the difference. All right, so that's the first topic. The second topic is the sequence for teaching direct instruction model. All right? Our first step in the sequence is direct instruction. This is the instructional sequence, and the first thing you do is explain what you're about to teach. Okay? It's specific. You tell the learning goals. That's the first thing you do. Second thing you do is teacher modeling. The teacher will model the skill, how to do it correctly. Okay? Teacher modeling. Next, guided practice and feedback. The student or learner will practice with support with other students in a group, with teacher interaction, back and forth. Teacher providing feedback. Finally, this is an independent practice. This is where the student tries the skill on their own. Okay, so we give an overview of the instruction. We provide teacher modeling. We provide guided practice and feedback for the student. And then it's independent practice. Time for the student to try it on their own. These are the sequence. This is the sequence for direct instruction. So, in the instructional sequence part of your lesson plan, you will notice headings called this. These are the headings in your lesson plan. And this is what you do in each of those headings. We'll talk about a little bit more. But first, let's compare the sequence of direct instruction and presentation model. Remember, when we did the presentation model, first thing we did was clarify objectives, provided an advanced organizer, presented the new information with topics and examples, right? Then we checked for understanding and expanded student knowledge, thinking, right? So what are the differences between the instructional sequence? This is the instructional sequence in the lesson plan for the presentation model, okay? What are the differences between the presentation model and the direct instruction model? Well, the direct instruction model starts with direct instruction, present learning goals, purpose. Then you do teacher modeling, guided practice with students working together, and then independent practice, students working on their own. Okay? That's the sequence for direct instruction. You can see that it's a little bit different. Okay? We're presenting new information here with the presentation model that we did last week. Okay? We're presenting new information. We're not teaching a specific skill. Now, we're teaching a specific skill, and we're using the direct instruction approach. Okay? Here's the sequence of steps, a little different way of looking at it. Here's the steps. First, of course, we do an anticipatory set. All our lesson plans include an anticipatory set. Creative, engaging, you know what it is. Then we move into our instructional sequence portion of the lesson plan, and we provide direct instruction. Basically, what we're going to be teaching. Then, we model the skill, teacher modeling. Then, guided practice. We allow the students to work together, interact together, try it out together, and we give feedback. Then, independent practice. The students work on their own. All right? And finally, the closure. Of course, this is the same in every lesson plan. We always have a closure. We always have an anticipatory set, and they're both engaging, creative, participative, intellectually stimulating. This is helping the students remember or recall prior background knowledge about something that may be familiar to them about the topic. Okay, so here's the steps, and everybody's favorite, say do. Say do. We're going to say this, say this. We're going to write out our dialogue and include differentiation and assessment, 2 or 3 sentences in each of these headings of how we're providing differentiation and how we're providing formative assessment. All right? Okay, so topic 3. Let's see if direct instruction is always the best approach to use. Well, if we're going to teach a student how to multiply 2 3-digit numbers, yes, let's use direct instruction. There is specific steps to multiplying this problem here. Step 1, step 2, step 3, we can show a student how to multiply these 2 numbers. That's a process, step by step. If we're applying properties of operations as strategies to multiply and divide, that's more of evaluation, working together, problem solving, things like that, that don't necessarily require specific certain steps. So yes, this would be a good time to use direct instruction. No, probably not. Let's look at another example. Evaluate the reasons why George Washington crossed the Delaware River to attack the Hessians in Trenton, New Jersey. It's a wonderful story. One of the turning points in the Revolutionary War. Would we use direct instruction to teach our students this? To create the feelings, the being able to evaluate what happened and the hardships those soldiers went through and the decisions George Washington and the army leaders made. No. As opposed to use the squeepers, this is squeepers, the SQP2RS method to read Chapter 8 of Learning to Teach. Yes, the squeepers model is a specific reading comprehension strategy with definite certain steps to go through. All right? And this is what they are. S for survey, question, predict, read, respond, summarize. Okay, the SQP2RS sweepers. Survey, we preview the text. Question, we list 1 to 3 questions you think we'll find answers to. Predict, state 1 to 3 things we'll learn. Read the text. Respond, try to answer the questions. Modify the questions if we need to. Summarize at the end of the text. So, yes, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. If we were going to teach students the Sweepers model for reading comprehension, the Sweepers strategy, that would be a good time to use the direct instruction approach. Okay? Are we starting to understand the difference? All right. Let's talk about scaffolding for a minute. I'm sure you've heard this word before in relation to education. Scaffolding is a very important concept to understand. And basically, it is getting the students from the bottom of the stairway up to the top. Okay? They're novices, they're beginners, they don't know how to do the skill here. We get them up to the top where they're masters. They're experts at the skill. But they need help along the way. So Vygotsky, his principle is the zone of proximal development, which you've probably heard, is shown in this diagram. So imagine that this is the current level of a learner's development. This is as much as they can take for the learning to be optimal. Okay? We can't just jump up to the top of the stairs. Okay? The master, the expert, he's up here. And he's coming down to reach out to the beginner to bring them up to here. Okay? So this is the area of where we instruct, comprehensible input, where the students can best learn new skills. All right? Like the staircase. Beginners at the bottom. Here's step 1. Here's step 2. Here's step 3. Steps to the process to become an expert at a certain skill. Another example. A little baby just learning how to walk. We're just happy if he takes 1 or 2 steps. It's exciting. Everybody's happy, encouraging. Life's good when the baby takes his first couple of steps. That's the beginner. Here's the expert. This guy won the gold medal in the Olympics for the 100 and 200 meter dash. An expert runner. Okay? But this kid, of course, it's silly to think he's here. He moves along. Okay? And if this guy was helping the baby, he's not going to get the baby over here. He's going to come down to here, come back, help the baby, teach, train, let the baby grow up until he's an expert. All right? So one part of scaffolding is called the procedural scaffolding, and that's what direct instruction approach, instructional model is based on. Explicit teaching, modeling, carefully guided practice. Remember? We talked about that. One-on-one teaching, coaching, modeling, small group instruction. Then the student practicing the newly learned skills. All right? So here's another way to look at it. We're almost finished. The last topic is called I do, we do, you do. This is an example of how we can write our lesson plans so that it follows the direct instruction model. The teacher modeling part is the I do. The guided practice part is the we do. Independent practice is you do. And we follow this method so that students can apply the skill and become experts at it. All right? So again, these are headings in your lesson plan. And you can call them I do, we do, you do out to the side of the heading. Now, here is something to be cautious of. Oh, one more. During the I do phase, or the teacher modeling phase of the direct instruction approach, we do explicit modeling, demonstrating, step-by-step instruction, clearly explaining how to do the skill. That's what we do in the I do part, and you fill in write your lesson plan so that you have clear modeling, clear step-by-steps, clear concepts. Okay? Now, this is where we want to be cautious, because we don't want to leave the student hanging by removing the modeling part too soon. Actually, this is a picture of a scaffolding. Another definition of the word scaffolding is the scaffold, which is where they took people to hang them. They put them here, they tied a rope around their head, they dropped off the bottom of that plank and dropped, boom, crack, dead. Okay? So, we don't want to leave the student hanging. You get it? The pun is intended. So, we don't want to remove the modeling too fast. Students need time. Teachers need to be very clear. Model the skill and give the students time. This is the guided practice part of your lesson plan. We do. All right? So the teacher modeling is I do. The guided practice is we do. All right. So during this guided practice phase, the teacher provides temporary support. Okay? The support is temporary, meaning that when the student becomes a master, the scaffolding goes away. If you're building a building and you have scaffolding all up, like they did at that hotel in Laie, scaffolding was all the way to the top. Once they're finished, the scaffolding all comes down. Okay? So it's a temporary support during student learning. Students are working together. They're checking and prompting and giving clues. The teacher's right in there with the mix. More modeling, more visuals, okay? Strategies and step-by-step instructions are posted on the board, somewhere where the students can refer to. This is all about working together and practicing the skill. Okay? Finally, the you do, independent practice. So your lesson plan, the next part is independent practice. That's the you do. That's the student. The student works alone. Okay? Then the student relies on their notes, the classroom teaching. Okay? The charts, posters, they take full responsibility for their own learning. But that can only come when they become familiar with the skill and they know how to do it. Okay? They won't take full responsibility for their learning if they don't know what is expected of them. Most of the time when a student misbehaves, gets low scores, or has a problem with assignments or behavior, most of the time that's caused because they don't know what is expected. The teacher was not clear. The instructions were jumbled. The student didn't understand. And what's worse is the student didn't even know they didn't understand. So they're sitting there thinking that they don't get it, when really, who would get it? Teacher wasn't clear. Instructions need to be very clear. The modeling needs to be very clear. the group guided practice, group work needs to be very clear so that when it gets to the independent practice, the student can work on it and take responsibility because they're confident, all right? All right. This is another way to represent the student responsibility. So imagine this chart. This bottom continuum shows student responsibility. So the student responsibility is very low. The teacher responsibility is very high. When the student responsibility is very high, the teacher responsibility is low. Okay? So when the teacher responsibility is high, it would be like reading aloud. The teacher reads aloud. The students don't know how to read. So the teacher reads aloud to them. Pretty soon, they can share in the reading. One student will read, another student will read. Maybe there'll be some choral reading. Other students can join in and read. Pretty soon, they're guided reading. The teacher's working with them. They're getting better at it, more confident. They're excited. They actually enjoy it. Pretty soon, they know how to read. They're independent readers. They take responsibility because they can. All right? The teacher relinquishes the responsibility through modeling, guided practice, independent practice, till the student becomes an expert. All right. So again, let's review. Direct instruction is the approach we are going to use next week for your lesson plan and micro-teaching. Anticipatory set, exciting, creative, engaging, and background knowledge. Okay? So, very good. I noticed your anticipatory sets. Many of you had very creative anticipatory sets. Good job. After that, anticipatory set is the direct instruction. This is the part you're just going to explain what you're about to learn. Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are so excited to learn a new reading strategy. And guess what it is? It's called sweepers. That's funny. It's exciting, right? Okay, good. That's it. Then, teacher modeling. You have a big chart. It's nice. It's beautiful, colorful. You go through the chart step by step, showing the student exactly how to do it. Then, you provide guided practice time. You allow the students to work together. Okay? While you go around giving feedback. So I do as the teacher, we do as student and teacher, you do as student. Independent practice. After they've practiced together, they're confident, they know how to do it, then they work on it on their own. After you've done that, move right into your closure. Creative, intellectually stimulating, okay? Everybody participating. All right, you know how to do that. You guys did great last time. So, don't forget to say do and include differentiation and UDL in your lesson plans under the appropriate headings. All right? The golden thread of lesson planning, okay? This is a beautiful tapestry, woven, hand woven, so that in the end it's a beautiful picture, hand woven right into that rug. It's beautiful. Takes a lot of time, okay? So what are the keys to planning for instruction? How do they fit together, and why should you care? Well, first, we think about our students, their backgrounds, where they are with the content. We think about the instructional theories. Okay, which approach should I use? Direct instruction, am I teaching a skill, step-by-step skill? Great, I'm going to use direct instruction. Then I do my standards and objectives, outcomes. Then I teach my lesson. I've got assessments going through there. I've got formative assessments that help me make in-flight adjustments while I'm teaching. Something doesn't go well, students are confused, boom, adjust, okay? And you know why, because you're constantly using formative assessments. Finally, after your teaching is finished, we do the reflection. All right? So, here's our outcomes with a smiley face. Can you explain the critical importance of mastering these different instructional approaches? Can you create a detailed lesson plan using the direct instruction model with I do, we do, you do, and the other headings in the lesson plan? Okay, direct instruction, teacher modeling, guided practice, independent practice. Okay? And can you teach the lesson using the direct instruction approach? All right, so that's our lesson for today. I will be posting this video on Canvas. I would like all of you to watch it, and then we will begin a discussion thread on Canvas, hopefully, that you can discuss it and ask questions and help each other. Okay? I will also put this PowerPoint presentation on Canvas for you to review. All right, good job. Thank you. You're doing great.